Well, at 10 minutes past 8 a.m., we kick off this morning taking a look at the Constitutional Court ruling finding the AARTO Act, the Administrative Adjudication of Road Traffic Offences Act, as a constitutional. Now, the Apex Court overturned an order of the Gauteng High Court in Pretoria, which had found AARTO to be unconstitutional and invalid, and also calling for it to be scrapped in its entirety. And we've seen now this unanimous decision delivered by Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, and the justices agreed that AARTO and the way notices would be served to alleged offenders was not inconsistent with the Constitution. Joining us this morning is from the organization Undoing Tax Abuse. We are joined by Executive Director of the Accountability and Public Governance Division at OUTA, Advocate Stefanie Fick. Advocate Stefanie, good morning, and as always, welcome. Thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you so much. Good morning. It's always a pleasure.
Yes, clearly this whole issue surrounding the AARTO Act has been very, very close to OUTA, and you have challenged this act, and I'm sure there is disappointment on your part with the ruling from the Apex Court.
Yeah, we are disappointed. We didn't start on this journey or started this journey because, that with the idea in mind that one would fail. The High Court agreed with us, but, the highest court in the land disagreed with us. So now it's moving forward. I mean, we have to see and just take look at how AARTO will be rolled out, and then it's about the motorists to see that what we believe is going to be an administrative nightmare for motorists. Is the system similar to e-tolls? E-tolls was never unconstitutional, but it was unworkable, and unfortunately, we believe that this is going down the same route.
Yes. Now, let's just talk a bit about this administrative nightmare that you speak about, because I think one of your biggest bone of contention was powers that were removed from municipalities and now given to these state organs.
Yeah, municipalities will lose a lot of their income. You're talking about, millions. 33 million was a number I heard somewhere per month that, the income that municipalities can receive from fines. So you can imagine that this is fighting for for income. And we've said that we also feel that this is a bit of a generating income sort of legislation. And although their intent was to curb and improve curb road deaths and improve road safety, AARTO is not the way. When there's a fine, RTIA in terms of AARTO gets like 50% of the fine. So, the smaller municipalities will really struggle if they lose that amount of income.
Yes. Now, you're talking about road deaths, and I've also heard the AA come out and feel quite strongly about this in saying that this will not go or assist in any way in reducing fatalities on the roads. And with the pilot projects that have been rolled out, this is a proven fact, Advocate Stefanie.
Yeah, I don't know how many people can remember. AARTO has been in Joburg and Tshwane as a pilot project since 1998. Now, although, and what is worrisome, so it's been rolled out 1998. The demerit point system has always been part of the original AARTO Act, but that has never been implemented because of the problems. And then the question is, did we see an improvement of road safety in Johannesburg and Pretoria? And I think the resounding answer is no, we haven't. This is not a proven fact, or we didn't do really research, but we saw a sort of a decline during the World Cup, and that's because of more visible policing. So, like the AA is saying, and I believe that they've got more statistics, is that this hasn't improved road safety. Now, if you speak to government, what they're saying is that what they try to do with AARTO is to, instill with motorists to drive safer, because if you're going to get a demerit point and may lose your license, that you will drive better. I just think that we unfortunately sit with an enormous amount of corruption. We sit with a system like the OUTA system that is not updated. We have so many vehicles that's not roadworthy. So there's other things one can do or have to do first before you think about an administrative system like AARTO. And that, unfortunately, is going to make it difficult. I firmly believe that the proof is in the pudding, and we've seen this for the past years, and that nothing is going to change in future.
Yes, and also looking at ourselves as a country, and when we're looking at traffic violations, at road violations, looking at motorists. One example, obviously, you're looking at unroadworthy vehicles, but just generally looking at motorists, looking at driver behavior, and sometimes just getting on the road alone is a very very daunting task, and we know that South Africa, we've got millions of motorists that use our roads on a day to day basis, and a single national system to manage all of that, I'm sure it's going to be a nightmare.
It is because, it's unfortunately, government has shown us that when it comes to administrative processes, they struggle. There is the motor vehicle licenses and the driver licenses. How many people are waiting for the driver's license because the one machine that we have in South Africa was broken again, and then you struggle to get that. We know that if you want to get a new license or whatever, there's queues. If you go to Home Affairs, there's queues. So and one thing about this Amendment Act that we questioned is there's this appeals tribunal. Now, except for this cumbersome process that people should be aware of, just the cumbersome process, but there's this appeal tribunal that you can approach if you are unhappy and your representations wasn't successful. Now, they're going to have 8 members, excuse me, and 1 chairperson. They are not permanent. We don't know where they're going to sit. So now imagine if everybody, a majority of people, for example, does not agree with the merits of their tickets or whatever. They go through this process and they have to go to the appeals tribunal. Where are they going to sit? Will they be able to deal with the amount of representations that they may have? So it's all these niggly things. Let me just end off by saying this, is that, again, the fact that the legislation is not unconstitutional doesn't make the legislation practical and rational, and government is going to struggle with the administrative process because they've shown us that they can struggle with their own processes, and the trust deficit. I just don't think we have trust in government anymore to act on our behalf.
Well, certainly, and I think this is where your bone of contention is as well, in terms of Parliament, whether they have the powers or they don't have the powers to make laws like these.
Yeah, that is so. Constitutionally, our constitutions say that you've got this 3 spheres of government, and in certain circumstances, provincial and local government should deal with their own affairs. And we believe that specifically the executive competence shouldn't have been taken away from local government, because AARTO is, except for national legislation, there is also national body. So RTIA is a national body. They will decide representations. The appeals tribunal, national body. And we believe that executive competence should have lied with your local governments. But Concord has disagreed, so we move on. But there is a warning. I think the city of Cape Town sort of joined us as amicus later in the case, and they were also of the opinion they're going to lose an enormous amount of income due to this process. Plus, there are some of the smaller towns, if you think about it, they will have to resource themselves. They will have to understand the process. They will have to get books with tickets and all of that they may not have the finances to fund AARTO, because all of this needs to come out of their budget. For them to be ready nationwide to implement AARTO, it will cost them money. And I don't know, we all know in what state local governments are in. So whether they will be able to do that is also a problem.
Well, I think this was obviously going to be my leading question, and my final question to you, Advocate Stephanie, is with regard to the resources and also looking. You mentioned various towns, but also looking at the various provinces, and I'm sure that the capacity. You mentioned the Western Cape, for instance, the capacity to deal with road infringements is unique in each province, but also in terms of the capacity and the resources that are available. We see that Western Cape, for instance, very different to the rest of the entire country in terms of just their local policing, in terms of just how the province is actually generally governed and managed. And clearly, they should be given the leeway, they should be given the freedom to basically manage even traffic and traffic violations in each province.
Yeah, and that was sort of a part of the point with us taking this to the Concord. But now it's bad news for example, for province like the Western Cape, because they will now have to do what the national legislation is telling them, and then the obviously the executive competence is also lying with national and not on a provincial or local level. So it is unfortunate. Um, I think maybe I should leave this idea is that this is not about, I think motorists wants to be lawless. I think we have a lot of law-abiding citizens and motorists in South Africa. And I think a lot of us, if you get a parking ticket, you will pay it. And AARTO, by the way, is only applicable on minor offences. It's got nothing to do with drunk drivers. You still need policemen to catch a drunk driver or a person when you get to culpable homicide and all of that. We have a lot of law-abiding citizens, but in order for us to be law-abiding, you need to believe in the concept. And if you are going to be part of an administrative process that around each corner you are just the loser when it comes to the process, that is unfortunately sad. So, will they have the buy-in from everybody in South Africa, and then they're going to suffer again? The legitimacy of government unable to enforce their own laws and regulations, which we don't need currently in South Africa.
Well, at this point in time, now that the Apex Court has ruled, it's a wait and see game, and let's see how it rolls up. It's going to be interesting times.
Yeah,
But
people should be aware of what AARTO is and what their rights are.
well, let's see what happens. But for now, we thank you, Advocate Stefanie Fick, as always, for your time. All the best to you. Stay warm and please take care.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure. Really a pleasure. Thank you.
The organization Undoing Tax Abuses, Executive Director of the Accountability and Public Governance Division, Advocate Stefanie Fick, with us this morning.